Hello again, sunshines and sunnies. You are now tuned into part 2 of the Angelic artistry analysis for Nicki Minaj. And I ain't gonna waste no time. We're gonna get straight into this here layout, which is the truth of the soul contract between Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Pt.2. Let's go ahead and get into the layout. So this is to be looked at as both two individual sides as well as in unison, like one of those Venn diagrams, if you will, where you have the differences in two bubbles and then those bubbles meet in the middle and it's what they have that's the same, kind of like that. But let me go ahead and explain to you what's happening here. So the Nine of Swords to the left is representing the identity of Nicki in this situation, and the Three of Wands to the right is representing Kenneth in this situation. Okay, so the two cards under the Nine of Swords, those are in correlation with Nicki, and the two cards under the Three of Wands, those are the cards that are correlating with Kenneth Petty. Now the romantic love card in reverse, that is pretty much giving us the entirety of the truth about their soul contract. And that romantic love is in reverse because this is a part of the perspective distortion. They are seeing each other as each other's soulmate and romantic love, but that's really not what this is meant to be. This is more of a karmic relationship, and I do not mean that in a punishment type sense. I mean that it is a relationship that has come about for the purpose of balancing some scales, of clearing up some generational curses and healing some pathologies. So this is also a case of one of the situations where Nicki is or has been mistaking him for someone that she should invest more than what she actually should in. And there is more than likely going to come a time where she realizes that she's put all of her eggs in the wrong basket. Now, her kid with him is not a mistake. That is divine design, of course. But the relationship itself on a romantic level and on a infinitive level is really not the divine path that, you know, she should be sticking to. It should be, it's for a season and a reason, not for eternity. So let's talk about the cards individually for a sec. So we got the Nine of Swords, which, like I said, represents the identity of Nicki in this situation. And this is about not only the history of people betraying her and her being attached to a certain type of person because she feels like they represent a certain amount of protection and a certain amount of inevitable transparency, if you will. Like, she knows what to expect from that type of person as well, and so she clings to that type of person. And needless to say, that type of person is Kenneth. He's not the only person in her life that fits this particular type of symbolism and this particular type of connection, but Kenneth is a major person and a major representation of that, and the person that we're dealing with in this particular layout, of course. So yeah, but this is also about the knives and daggers and the blows that she's taken for him, perhaps not in a physical sense, but in a emotional sense, in a verbal sense, in a public sense, in a blog and news sense. Even we know the controversy that is attached to him, and that's also attached to other people that have been attached to Nicki as well. So that's why she's represented in the Nine of Swords form. Like I said, it's also about the ridicule and the blows that she's taken for him and other people that have been in her life that fit the same caliber. And the reason why we have the pink and the purples and the indigo and the blues there is because this is also representing a truth, a dark truth about her past, her inner child, her past lives, and about her shadow self that needs to be addressed, and like I said, needs to be unpacked and healed so that it can be reformed, rejuvenated, and redirected and transmuted into being used into the right divine ways. But it's going to be up to her to start seeing things and people for what they are, and to stop delusioning herself into these rose-colored glasses types of views of basically wolves in sheep's clothing, and people who are obviously wolves and do wolf-like things. It's going to be up to her to start, like I said, calling a thing and making the decision to do something differently, and being honest about the fact that it's not good for her to have these certain types of people around her and in her space. It's also not good for her kid. Okay, so let's talk about those cards that's under it. We have fuck, shit is about to get real, and we have be fucking grateful in reverse. So be fucking grateful in reverse is elaborating on her becoming kind of burnt out on fighting for things that she feels like she deserves, and being told that she's overreacting and being a bitch and being dramatic and feeling like she's the only person in her corner barking. And at a point, I guess she, it started to make her feel like, she's looking crazy out here. And to an extent, there have been times where she's been kind of looking crazy out here, but at the same time, it's understandable. But she's been in a space of kind of just, like I said, going with the flow and trying to handle things in a non-confrontational powder puff type of way, trying to do it differently in that way, but that's not the way that she needs to do it. So what this is directing to is to take a look around at the people, like I said, that she's surrounding herself with, and to be real about the fact that they're not bringing the same thing to the table that she is. In fact, she is the table, and she's brought a bunch of other tables, chairs, walls, rules to make a house, cars, all kinds of shit. And the people that she's had around her are not able to do that. And so it's about her demanding more for herself, and being fine with wanting more for herself and going after more for herself, and to stop accepting pickles on a platter and now she drinking pickle juice. Okay, it's time to tap out of that and honestly remember who the fuck she is. Remember the great parts of who the fuck she was when she was in that video going on that rant about people wanting to serve her pickles and sunflower seeds on a platter, and her being like, no, I will not accept that shit. I have worked too fucking hard for that. I'm too fucking good for that. I'm too fucking divinely designed for that shit. I deserve more, and I'm going to demand it. I'm not going to ask for it. I'm going to say what the fuck I want, and if you don't bring it to me, I'm going to get it and make it for myself, because that's what the fuck I do, and that's what I've been put here to do. Period. And so I ain't gotta say too much more left on that card. We can move back on over to fuck, shit is about to get real. And what that is hinting at is those tower moments that I was talking about in the previous part of this video. Things that are going to be happening divinely and spiritually to trigger her, to provoke her to get out of that mode of just accepting anything and lowering her expectations and lowering her standards to make other people feel comfortable. It's going to be a lot happening to tap her up out of that, to wake her the fuck up out of that, to start demanding what she wants and going after what she wants on some real shit, and evolving and standing in her higher self, unapologetically confident and courageously, okay? And the more she allows herself, emphasis on allows herself to tap into that, the more she's going to recognize that her connection with Kenneth is not all that she made it out to be. It's not all that she like talked herself up on it being, or like convinced herself that it was. Because also that be fucking grateful card in reverse is also probably something that he said to her on multiple occasions, or he probably guilt trips her in certain ways, like, I accepted you despite this, or I stuck up for you in this situation, I protected you in this situation, you need to be fucking grateful that I'm here, you need to be fucking grateful that I did this much, and da 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 da. And it's something attached to that. It's somebody specifically, and this is what's coming up, it could be a cousin, brother, or even her father that he reminds her of. And when it gets, it's like the sweet parts of him, and then also that part of him reminds her of one of those individuals, and that's what like endears her to him, and is what makes her believe what he's saying, whether it's right or wrong. She tries to find a truth in it, whether she knows he's lying or not. She tries to find a truth in it because it's something in her upbringing where she was taught to do that. And it would make so much sense if that person that he reminds her of is her daddy. Because having come up in a domestic violence household or a chaotic household, it would make sense if her mother was trying to maintain some type of respect and love in the children and father's relationships. And so therefore the children, i.e. Nicki in this case, was taught to, no matter what he does, try to find some positivity, try to find some truth in what he's saying, or some way to love him, some way to rationalize him, some way to respect him, no matter what he does. And therefore, in people that remind her of her daddy, or people that she's just endeared to in general, it's something in her subconscious that is trained to find a way to believe them and love them and respect them and uplift them, no matter what they do, because she loves them and she has to. And that's also a trauma response as well. And I'm going to finish up this particular part of the message by saying, deep and intense love, light, and healing to this particular part of Nicki Minaj, and light, love, healing, and liberation throughout her entire mind, body, and spirit. May all traumatic wounds, even the most resistant to healing, be healed thoroughly with the strength of a billion gods and goddesses, with the strength of a billion divine realms. May these traumatic wounds be healed, mind, body, spiritually. I say, Shalom, Ashrei, Odeya, Bakole be, Hallelujah. And with that being said, I hope that you all, if needed, will be able to be impacted by that prayer and that extension of love, light, healing, and liberation that I just spoke into her energy and into her divine realm just then. I hope that y'all's divine realm and y'all's mind, body, and spirits, as well as my own, can also be impacted by that prayer. Moving on throughout the rest of this layout. Okay, so let's talk about Ken, okay? So like I said, we have the Three of Wands, which represents his identity, and this represents him being a hustler, a go-getter, and he is very strategic and he is very calculated. He is the type of person that does not mind staking out and stalking in order to carry out his plans. Okay, now this is applied in multiple different ways. So I'm not gonna get into any specifics yet, unless those specifics come up. I'm not gonna go out of my way to get into those specifics, but just know that he is the type of person that does not mind staking out and stalking in order to carry out his plans. He likes to observe and gets to know the entirety of a situation, the entirety of a person, and everybody involved, so that he doesn't make a misstep. He likes to be right. He likes to be in control of every situation, and he likes to be scot-free, if you will. So he likes to also do things the way he wants to do it, and which will lead us to one of the cards, both of them actually. Ooh, and look at how, before I get into that, because I was going to go to the you do you card, but I'm gonna go to the don't fucking force it card first, because if you look at the color scheme and the coloration of that card, the blue at the bottom, and I did not set that up like with that intent, okay? I just intuitively set the cards up, and that's how it came out. I'm just now even realizing that the blue at the bottom of the Three of Wands card rolls and flows over perfectly into the blue of the don't fucking force it card. Child. Okay, confirmations and synchronizations, looky. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that flow on into that card. Don't fucking force it. So again, this is talking about him needing to be right and needing to be in control of every situation. But it seems as though with Nicki, and it's no surprise, but with Nicki, it's a little harder for him to do that than in any other situation that he's been in. Even though Nicki has her soft spots and vulnerable spots, obviously, that I just talked about, it's harder for him to do it with her. She is definitely a challenge for him, which means that she is also some type of karmic lesson for him as well. Interesting. And so this is really taking a toll on his ego and playing a part in stripping her her. He has a lot of feminine energy around him, and this is also a synchronicity that he has with Nicki. Nicki's ego is being stripped in this situation, but in a different way than what his is being stripped. His is being stripped in the way of you're not gonna be able to keep getting away with this foolishness, sir. So in Nicki, you would want to say that he's met his match, but he's actually met a being bigger than anything that he is able to even fathom. Tisk. And so with all of that being said, we get over to that you do you card, and it should be easy for him to just do him, right? Because he likes to do what he wants to do anyway, right? But no, because Nicki is a challenge, he feels a need to step his game up and try extra hard. But the more he does that, the more he fucks things up for himself. But also, not only does he fuck things up for himself, he's building like bad karma for himself, and he's also kind of making it a little bit like he's causing delays in the divine realm the more he tries to micromanage shit, and the more he tries to micromanage Nicki, he causes delays in the divine realm. And so, like I said, he consequently he builds bad karma for himself, because he ends up causing delays for himself as well. So interesting. So very interesting. But ultimately, other things as well, but Nicki being a main source, she is going to burn him out by doing what she needs to do for herself and focusing on herself and committing to the self-love and the shadow work and the evolution out of the cycle that she's in and on to bigger and greater things for herself. just by her doing that and committing to her divine path and committing to integrating and balancing her divine and higher self, she is going to burn him out. And when she burns him out, he's going to expose himself in a way where she cannot ignore it. It will be a truth that is beyond a shadow of doubt, that is exposed about him, and not only about him, but it will make so much apparent to her, down to other people in her life, down to patterns that she's been stuck in, down to so much shit. And she's going to have a breakthrough that feels like a breakdown, but it's going to break her down for her to rejuvenate and rebirth and rebuild herself back up into, like I've been saying this entire reading, the Nicki that we've all been wanting to see out of her, and then some, goddamn, and then some, because there's so much more to her that even she doesn't know about herself or realize about herself or acknowledge about herself yet, that she's going to realize. And she gonna come out of a bag on our ass, child. And I'm ready for it. I'm here for it, child. I'm here for it. It's a lot of synchronicities going on. Beyonce keeps coming up in this reading, so I'm definitely going to do a video that is to cover the synchronicities between Nicki Minaj and Beyonce. So definitely make sure that you like, commenting, and subscribing, and hitting the bell button so that you can be tuned in to when that notification drops, because I'm definitely going to do that, because it is no mistake that Beyonce keeps popping up in this reading. But let's get on to the next layout, because that's all I got for this one, because everything that's coming up is going to be addressed and elaborated upon in the next couple of layouts. So let's go ahead and get to that. Alright, so in this layout we are covering just some synchronicities that Onika and Kenneth have. I'm not going to take too long on this, which is also why I have the cards laid out in a collage. So if you can see all of them, yay. If not, don't stress about it. I'm gonna, read it all off. So what we have here is, you see that sun card. You are loved. Drop the fucking ego. Your body is pissed at you. We have a self-portrait card up to the right. I honestly forgot the name of that artist, but it doesn't matter because I know the message. To the left, we have Jorge Surratt, Sunday afternoon on the Grand Jate, okay? And the energy is gaining momentum. Step out of your comfort zone in reverse, persecution and inquisition and imprisonment or slavery. Nah, let's get into what is talking about. So, major synchronicity happening already here that I've already pretty much talked about. That sun card right there, and we don't talk about a lot of sun moments as well, which symbolizes a whole lot of truth coming out. So the synchronicity is both of these people are effortlessly transparent even when they aren't trying to be. So even if they are not being totally honest about something, there's something in their body language, something in their energy that tells on them. So it's like inevitable truths, and inevitable truths that are bound to come out with the two of them being in unit and interacting and engagement with each other, which I definitely just talked about. So I'm getting into your body is pissed at you. So this is a lot of traumatic, emotional, and spiritual wounds that have manifested themselves in the body one way or another. So one or both of them has been experiencing some aches and pains or soreness also, which has also been provoking them to seeking help. Nicki more so than Ken, but has been provoking her to seeking different types of help and different types of health regimens to get herself nice and healthy. But one thing that will help get some of those aches and pains out of the situation is for them to come to the actual truth about what's been going on and what type of relationship this is and what they actually are and should be to each other, which is co-parents that respect each other. But I'm speaking that as a spiritual message, not as necessarily myself. That's not my business. I hope they work it out as best they can, but that's the spiritual message that's coming through. The two of them being in unit and in relationship with each other is also causing them some spiritual pains that have been manifesting in physical manners as well. You are loved. So this is pointing to a codependency issue that they more than likely have, that they may see as a blessing and a curse in their connection with each other. But this is talking about a codependency of them feeling like in a way that they need each other or they can't be without each other, because the energy has always been like that. It's something that's familiar and normalized to them. And if they could just realize that there's more to life and there's more to relationships and there's more to love than what they think, then they will be able to access more than what they think they have in each other. I hope that made sense. So step out of your comfort zone is in reverse, specifically because of what I just said. Them wanting to stick to the basics, them wanting to stick around what is normal and habitualized to them, instead of realizing that that is rooted in toxicity, dysfunction, chaos, and it's only getting them so far. And it is also causing them stagnation in their lives right now. So let's talk about the Sunday afternoon on the Grand Jeté. And if you look at the imagery, it is basically some families out at a park, but specifically mothers with their kids. So this is talking about a trauma bond that they have on some mommy issues, some issues that they have with their mother that they either haven't vocalized or they have only vocalized to each other or something of the sort. Some type of trauma bond going on there with mommy issues, and some type of trauma bond going on there concerning their upbringing and just concerning family pathologies as a whole. And that card is also tying into the imprisonment or slavery card. And what that is talking about is some pathologies of abuse going on, and a part of that being isolation and abuse tactics that, you know how people, or you know how parents abuse their kids and they don't realize it because for so long it's been cloaked in, I'm hitting you because I love you, I whoop you because I love you, I keep you locked up in this house and I'm disciplining you in this extreme way that is actually abuse, that is actually rooted in chattel slavery. I'm doing it because I love you. And it really has become, I'm doing it because my parents told me, and their parents told them, and their parents told them, and their parents told them, and their slave master told them that this is love and protection, when in actuality it is abuse. And so that is also a trauma bond that they have. And the reason why it's imprisonment or slavery is because a tactic in abuse is to also isolate the victim. And there are also things where parents lock their kids up, not just on some go to your room type shit, but what I'm seeing here is one or both of their parents having this thing. And I'm not saying that Nicki's mama did this or any of that. There's some type of parental figure on one or both sides that more than likely, allegedly, but this is the spiritual message and vision that's coming through based off of the cards, on some Rapunzel, Cinderella type shit. Whenever they would do something wrong, their parent would punish them by locking them up in the room, and they couldn't eat, or they were deprived of something that they actually needed, which could be food, which could be love and affection, which could be just keeping them locked up in that room without food, love and affection, social, any type of social activities and things of that nature, to an extreme, like to an extended period of time, not just for a couple of days, not stay in your room and only come out to eat, or only come out when you need to use the bathroom, but like literally being locked up in their room like a prisoner, or like when a prisoner is in prison and they do something bad and they get sent to the hole. Like, that's how I have heard stories of that also, and that's also the vision that I'm getting, that their parents would punish them with prisoner, warden, inmate type of punishments, or master slave type of punishment, and this set up a normalized perspective or a normalized feeling of love in volatile and violent relationships. So that's another distortion. They both have that distortion where they have been taught and conditioned that abuse is a love language. Ooh, child, that was a mouthful. Ooh, child, that was a mouthful. But yeah, that's what it is. Allegedly for protective purposes, but that's the spiritual message and vision that is coming through on that, on a synchronicity that they have with each other, that is also a trauma bond, and it's also a pathology that is meant to be broken through the dismantling of their romantic relationship ultimately. There's a whole lot more that goes into that I pretty much already explained, but there's even more that we don't see, can't see, and won't see, because it's specifically for them to experience and for them to have those epiphanies and breakthroughs for themselves, you know. So moving on to the energy is gaining momentum. So that's basically saying that a lot of this is already in motion. A lot of the tower and sun moments and those triggering moments have already been in motion, and a lot of these truths have already been gradually unraveling. And child, it's already being kicked in gear, honey. It's already being kicked in gear. So I ain't gonna spend too much time on that card. Moving on to persecution and inquisition. Now this is also on one side tied to the imprisonment or slavery card in the afternoon on the Grand Jate. Those inner child and pathology messages and wounds and synchronizations and whatnot, because there's also some type of pattern in their families, and maybe somehow even in their own lives, where they've had constant run-ins with the law, constant legal issues, constant issues of either them. We know that Kenny has had his legal issues, that's documented. I think we've seen a mug shot or two or something of Nicki, but also this is talking about their families as well. Some type of pattern and pathology of people being in and out of prison or in and out of jail, and off and on of doing illegal things, whether selling drugs and gang banging or being drug addicted, and with some sense and some prostitution in there as well. You know, which it happens. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It just needs to be addressed and acknowledged so it can be healed and, you know, reformed. So that's what their persecution and inquisition card is as well, because that's something else that they have trauma bonded on, and it's also something else that is going, when I think about it, I can see it already being addressed in a lot of ways, but it is some other ways that it's going to end up being addressed, and that it has slowly been being addressed. And I can see Nicki like strategizing and figuring out like, what the fuck is this? What am I supposed to do with it? Okay, how to get out of this cycle, because I'm tired of this being an issue. So I'm definitely seeing that and hearing that. And I just heard like some type of siren sounding horn, which gave a confirmation that that's an epiphany that she's already acting upon, trying to figure out what that pathology is and how to bring a end to it. The persecution and inquisition the persecution and inquisition card is also talking about judgment on their soul contract and inevitable things that will have to happen as a result. And at the, can't say end because they have a kid, but you know, the end of their relationship as they know it to be. That's what that's getting at. And that's also talking about the rest of those sun moments and tower moments that have to come through. Is there anything else that I need to... Oh, drop the fucking ego. Drop the fucking ego is tied to that self-portrait card up there to the right that has the 5 on it. I've already talked about how both of their egos are being stripped in different ways here. So like, both of them have big ass egos, and we know that Nicki has a big ass ego. So of course anybody that she's attracted to or attracts will definitely and does definitely have a big ass ego as well. Well, in this particular connection and their synchronizations, like I said, their egos are being stripped and torn to shreds so that they can gain access to their higher selves, and even being met with the opportunity to choose. So we have here that Nicki is doing everything that she's doing in order to get to that crossroads of being met with the opportunity to choose, right? And we pretty much have gotten a lot of confirmation that she is going to choose to access her higher self, integrate it and balance it and harmonize it with her shadow self so that she can be the best of everything that she needs and wants to be, right? Kenneth, on the other hand, there are certain things showing up like that that's kind of like up and down and hazy, because there is uncertainty as to whether or not he is going to make a commitment to doing things better and being a better person just in general, let alone accessing his higher self, right? And so he's already had so many opportunities and so many crossroad moments that, you know, give him the time and space to make the choice to do this. So that's why it's like foggy on his end, because it's kind of like this is his last chance, yeah, if you will, okay? And so that's how those two cards tie into each other. It's about them getting past their ego, getting out of their own way, and accessing their higher truth, their higher divine selves, and harmonizing it with everything else that they are, so that they can be everything else that they need to be individually and for their soul families, which are more than likely not each other only as it concerns. They're only meant to be soul family in the way that it concerns their kid or kids, if you know any more are to come from that. But on a romantic sense, it's not meant for them to be each other's soul family in a romantic sense, from what has come out in these messages, cards, and layouts and things of that nature. So that's all I got for this layout. We're gonna go ahead and move forward. Now real quick, right fast, right here, we just have a couple of more things that elaborate on Kenneth, more things that are to be known about him, secrets, identities, whatever, what have you. This is what came out. So we see some repeated cards, huh? And that definitely gives us some confirmations about a lot of things that I have already said and covered. And also, I'm going to get into some things real quick, so I ain't going to spend too much time here. Just a couple of things that I didn't cover. So what we have here, if you look at these cards, you see a lot of feminine cards. You see a lot of feminine forms on the cards. This is representing not only does Kenneth effortlessly function in a rather predominant feminine energy, in the way that he moves, in the way that he thinks about things. He may have came up surrounded by women one way or another, or a woman had a very large and prominent influence on him in some type of way. And he is I'm going to just spit this out exactly how it's coming to me. He's an energy vampire, and he specifically preys on women, allegedly. This is how, allegedly for protective purposes, but this is how the messages are coming through, and that is also why it's so many feminine forms throughout this particular layout. And if I can direct your attention to the Six of Pentacles that is in reverse, that Six of Pentacles is right in between the two High Priestess, and those are High Priestess from two different types of tarot decks. So the Six of Pentacles in reverse on its own tells me that he does a lot of finessing for the purposes of money and access and material things. So look at the card in the upper left, which is the Seven of Pentacles. You see a girl there watering a tree, and the pentacles are found at the top of that tree. Now that is literally representative of how he eats from the fruits of other people's labor, specifically women. We also have the Queen of Pentacles there. You see the Queen of Pentacles holds the coin. The Queen of Pentacles is also a card that comes out as a representation of Nicki as well. And if you look at the way that girl in that card is shaped and how she's wearing her hair and the multi different colors and everything, that is not a coincidence. We have the High Priestess from the Mystic Monday deck, and we have the High Priestess from the traditional Rider-Waite Tarot deck. And one of those is Nicki, and the other of those is another woman who he pretty much kind of lives vicariously through in a magical sense, if you will. It's like Nicki and whoever this other woman is are very powerful, very strong, and effortlessly intuitive as well. Effortlessly comes off very empowered because they are powerhouse energies, right? And he lives vicariously through them. He tries to make up for what he lacks through them and their experiences and what they've accomplished through what they've accomplished for themselves. And like I said, he eats from the fruits of their labor. Let's look at that Two of Swords laying sideways up there. That is representing, one, the crossroads that is coming for him that I've already talked about, and that is also him being brought to have to explain himself and make a decision about the different women in his life. The Knight of Swords there represents his current form and the form that he usually functions in, a brute, usually the muscle and not the brains, even though he is quite intelligent in his own ways. And like I said, he's very strategic and calculated and things of that nature. And it does also take a lot of intelligence to be manipulative and a finesser and a hustler and a go-getter as well. It's just a different type of intelligence. Howsoever, he functions in a energy that is more so of a knight as opposed to a king. There's a lack of discipline here. There's a more so of a need to be told what to do as opposed to having the capacity to be able to direct people. He's more so of a person that is supposed to take direction, not because he doesn't have the potential to be a leader or any of that in him. It's the way that he chooses to function and the way that he has chose to function for a majority of his life. Therefore, he is stuck in knight type of energy, the Knight of Swords specifically. And something that flashed up when I was speaking on those two High Priestess card and him living vicariously through the powerful women in his life. And a part of that is also him having conversations with them, or just hearing very insightful and wise things that they say and knowledgeable things that they say, and then repeating them in conversations that he's having with his own friends or whatever, like behind their back, and he's acting like the things that he's saying are things that he thought of on his own, but there are really ideas and points and think pieces that he's gotten from conversation with the powerful women in his life. He's taken things that they say and run with them like it's his own. Weirdo behavior, but that's what came up. Also, there's a temper here. Something going on with a temper here, being very the term trigger happy is coming up, but it seems like it's more so verbally. He spits daggers out of his mouth when he really doesn't have to. He knows what to say to cut a woman down and to break down their self-esteem and to make them question everything that they know and that they, you know, are trying to know as well, which is also why he kind of likes to be around powerful women, because it's a game to him to try to be able to conquer them, or to try to outsmart them, or to constantly be able to make them feel stupid, or just be able to play with and control their emotions, if even for just a moment. And like I've been saying this whole time, that Sun card keeps coming up because he is going to expose himself, and he is going to be exposed. All of the truth is going to come out. I don't know if we're going to be able to see all of it, but a lot of truth is going to come out. A lot of exposure is going to happen for the betterment of Nicki, definitely. It's not sure where he is going, okay? Let me also point out that the Knight of Swords is right side up. It's because he doesn't see the fault in his actions. If he was able to acknowledge and recognize the wrong in the things that he does and how he limits himself and other people by doing the negative things that he does that I mentioned off of that card in correlation with the rest of the cards, then that Knight of Swords would have been in reverse. But it's right side up because he feels okay about it for now, because he hasn't had the opportunity, and people have always softened the blows or been some type of cushion or crutch for him to fall back on in the midst of the consequences of his actions. So he hasn't gotten the entirety of the depth of the consequences of his actions and how it impacts him, how it impacts his kids, how it impacts the people that he harms or takes from, or, you know, deceives and things of that nature. It hasn't set in yet. So that card is right side up. And that's all I have for this layout. And so we're going to go ahead and move forward with the remainder. All right, let's get into our wrap up layout. So for this one, we have what is coming for Nicki Minaj: mind, body, and soul, personal and family life. So we have spirituality and religion, Celtic, tantric journey, and healing. So what that's giving me right off the bat is kind of confirming a lot of things that I've said already. Her getting stronger in her relationship with God and her divine realm and her ancestors, as well as it seems like she's going to be doing more research and doing more, getting closer to her roots, basically getting closer to the spiritual practices and the health practices of her ancestors. And like the way that she will be doing that is learning more about her ethnicity, so that she can get a clearer vision and a clearer understanding of her ancestors, and therefore get a clearer understanding of herself. And that's where the tantric journey comes in, as well as the healing. The tantric journey is the process of her doing all of that research, going through all of those processes and rituals and spiritual initiations and things of that nature. I do not mean that she would literally be joining like an organization, maybe, but I mean her going through spiritual rituals of her divine realm, crossroad moments where she has to make a decision whether, you know, she's going to continue to play it safe or she's going to take it up a notch on her faith level and on her visualization and go-getter-isms towards her goals and the ideas that come to mind, no matter how crazy they may seem. And this will also get clearer and stronger in her intents that she puts behind things that she creates. She have a greater intent, more prominent intent that will be able to be felt through her creations. And as I said, the entire one will be one of healing, because it's going to allow her to, like I said, get to know herself better, and then therefore be able to be more compassionate with herself and be more patient and understanding and unconditionally accepting and loving of herself. It is also going to help her do a whole lot of purging, because she's going to be writing a lot, not just rhymes. I'm getting that this is starting off with, or has started off with, her writing journals, like just endlessly writing journals, getting lost in different moments writing journals, which will turn into writing stories, which will eventually lead her back to writing rhymes. Rhymes that are much more vivid and much more full, and maybe even deep and much more creative, more evolved, as I've been constantly saying. We might even get some other different types of creative writings out of her, but all of that is going to be something that helps her purge a lot of energy that she no longer needs, express a lot of things that she's been suppressing and trying to ignore and stuff down. And like I said, it's going to bring about a multitude of healing and a multitude of self-love for her, that she will have enough to spread around to other people who deserve it. And we're going to talk about these cards over here to the right. So from top to bottom, we have a new romantic cycle begins. It's the new moon in Libra. We have luck is on your side. New moon in Sagittarius. 2 new moons, y'all, in Libra and in Sagittarius. So pay attention to that scale there. Oh, and the arrow. And then down here, we got another scale, because we got another Libra, and it is the full moon in Libra. A win-win outcome is forecast. So this is bringing a major confirmation to what I've been saying about her making the decision to commit to evolution and commit to doing things differently and committing to herself more, her higher self, her inner self, okay? And wanting more out of life and demanding more out of the people that she gives to as well, and that she allows to be in her space, and that she allows to indulge in her energy. There's also more confirmation concerning the fact that because she has taken her hands off of so much and has pretty much released control over a lot of situations, it's really helped for her divine realm to come through for her even more and be able to work miracles for her even more. So that's also why we see the prominence of purple and pinkish colors there, because that's definitely the presence of her divine realm. And we see those scales twice over, and Libra twice over, and luck and win-win straight up and down, because she has built great karma for herself. And with the decisions that she's been making and the path that she's been committing to, and the new path that she still, you know, has yet to commit to and will commit to, from what the cards and the energetic realm is saying, she will be killing a lot of birds with one stone that will be multiplying the great karma that she's already made for herself. And also, I'm trying to see how to put this in words. It's like creating mercy for herself as well, concerning certain not so good karma that she may have built for herself as well. Through this journey and this cycle, by the time she gets to that crossroad moment where she has to make that decision, the making of the decision and the committing to it is what's going to also, like I said, create mercy for her concerning certain not so good karma, that, and some of it may not even be from this lifetime. But yeah, and that's all I have to say on this layout. Let's get to the creative portion of this question. All right, so like I said, what is coming for Nicki Minaj, aka Nicki Minaj, from a creative aspect, creatively? And we have the Ace of Pentacles, so definitely Bitcoins, maybe even some Bitcoins, but emphasis on the coin. I ain't gotta say too much there. Just a lot of, I'm hearing reimbursements, people paying her back money that she thought she lost, or money that went missing out of her account out of nowhere, or money that she was owed being paid back to her some type of way, making its way back to her, and also just coming into more money. And looking down to the left diagonally, we have the meal bananas, and this is her coming into her being able to establish the work, play, home, family, and friend life balance. She will ultimately, as it seems, be able to successfully prioritize everything in a way that is healthy, fun, and overall beneficial to her and beneficial to everybody that she has a responsibility to and a value to in her life. And this is also going to raise her confidence significantly, because it's going to be very good for her mental health as well as her physical health, and it's going to give her a ton of more motivation and passion and things of that nature. It's going to be a thing that really makes it clear to her that she does not have to be depressed or in angst or in the midst of traumatic residue in order to create. And child, myself as an artist, that sounds so liberating to me. Well, let's move on to At the Moulin Rouge. Now, this is concerning a project that she will more than likely be putting out, a couple of projects that she will more than likely be putting out, and it seems like they will be club bangers or bangers one way or another. I'm seeing here, I cannot put my finger on it, but you know how Nicki is. She multifaceted, and I done already said she gonna come out of a bag on our ass with a whole lot of things that we didn't even know that she could possibly have in her bag, whole other bags inside of her bag. And I ain't just talking about the bags that hold the coin, I'm talking about the bags that hold all the creativity and ideas as well. Okay, so what I say all of that to say for is, she will more than likely be putting out some hardcore hip-hop, as well as some pop and some house music and some reggae. It's going to be a fruit salad of creative content, and I am here for it. I am here for it. And let's give some attention to that number 6 that is there as well. And we can also pay attention to the time period that seems to be given in this card as well. And there goes Beyonce coming up again. Now, I can't tell exactly what time period that is, but we know that it is vintage. We can tell that it is a time where women were wearing clothes on clothes on clothes, clothes on clothes on clothes, dress from neck to toe, dress from neck to toe, clothes on clothes on clothes. Okay, so it's going to be something that gives a classic vibe. It's going to be something that has like some gems and Easter eggs. From what I'm getting is a multiple of time periods, that she has likely come to realize that have had a major influence on her life and on her creativity over time. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. But with all of that being said, all at the same time, all of that is going to work in its parts to tell more about her, more about her story, and more about who she is and what she's been going through, not only on a like childhood and coming up and getting into the game type of level, but also in the most recent years as well. It's going to let us know kind of everything that she was trying to, everything and then some that she's been trying to get across to us, but just didn't have the tools, the capacity, the experience, the self-love and self-reflection even to do so, or the healing even, or the full sense of liberation even to do. And with that being said, that's all gonna come from, once again, there's that sun and the iris is in a base. That is in that particular deck. That card also represents a sun card type of meaning and energy as well, but it's emphasis on epiphanies, emphasis on messages and realizations that come through without having to interact with anybody, just straight through your spiritual gifts, your spiritual realm, your intuition, from you just sitting and being and you just tapping into yourself. So that's that iris is in the vase card right there. And both of those cards are in reverse because it's going to be a lot of truth that Nicki was praying for to know, but she didn't know that she kind of didn't want to know. But she also knew that she kind of didn't want to know, but she know that she gotta know so that she can do what she needs to do. And baby, with all of that being said, I ain't got to say no more. I have milked this cow dry, and I hope that it has all made sense. I hope that maybe even it resonated in some ways to y'all, that were able to help y'all in ways that I didn't think of before. Of course, I'm always thinking about how we can learn from these artists' experiences and the analyzations and observations that we get off of them and whatnot, especially as it concerns getting the costs involved and everything. So yeah, I'm so glad whenever I can get a moment of your divine timing. I try to make it a educational, entertaining, and enlightening vibe around here. And be sure to bless my comment section with your questions and conversations. And as always, I bid you all light, love, healing, and liberation. Emphasis on liberation. Mwah.